Thanks for joining us today at Unstuck Your Business podcast.
You went into business with a passion to explore your skills and talents and show the world what you can do to contribute into our society and into our economic ecosystem. But a couple of years into the business, and your drive and motivation has dwindled, and now you feel stuck.
When you find yourself at this crossroad of thoughts and emotions, how do you deal with it? In this podcast, we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of entrepreneurship to help you unstuck your business. We are your hosts, Inés Nazario Vega from Business Essentials Virtual Assistants.
And Edith Duran from Reason Marketing. Welcome back to Unstuck Your Business. Taking risks in business can be uncomfortable, even scary, but it's also where growth begins. Every successful entrepreneur has faced moments where playing it safe felt easier, yet choosing the unknown made all the difference. In today's episode, we're talking about what it really means to take risks in business. Not reckless moves, but intentional, calculated decisions that challenge comfort zones, stretch leadership, and open the door to new opportunities. We'll explore why fear often shows up right before a breakthrough, how to evaluate risks wisely, and why avoiding risk can sometimes cost you more than taking it. If you've been standing at the edge of a decision, wondering whether you stay comfortable or step forward, this conversation is for you. To help us today with this topic, we have joining us Ashley Jablow, founder of Wayfinders Collective and creator of tools that help people and teams design careers and lives they love. Ashley, welcome to Unstuck Your Business podcast. We're so happy to have you here. I've been chatting with you, and I feel like we've already had some really intense conversations and good gems just in our pre-show conversation. So, if you would, could you please tell our audience a little bit more about yourself and your business?
Absolutely, Edith. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me. My name is Ashley Jablow, and yes, I'm the founder of Wayfinders Collective and the creator of Life Design School. And my business, to be honest, is like the best job I could have ever made up for myself. I get to work with executives, individuals, and teams who want to be thoughtful, intentional, and creative about how they make decisions, even more like how they work and less on what they work on. So that looks like coaching, facilitation, and over the years, also creation of tools like journals, hopefully a card deck. Maybe we can talk about that. Other resources to help people feel guided in designing their careers and their lives. I started my work in the nonprofit sector and moved into the world of innovation and design thinking. And so much of my business now is informed by my corporate career. But to be honest, knowing that we have an audience of business owners, I'll be the first to admit I never thought this was going to be the path for me. I grew up actually in a lineage of women business owners and entrepreneurs and saw how hard that work seemed growing up. And so I swore I would never own my own business. And then unexpectedly got laid off just over 8 years ago and realized that this was the best opportunity to really express my own unique and authentic gifts in a way that supports the world. So like I said, it's the best job I could have ever created for myself. And I still sometimes look around and think, how did I get here?
And that's interesting. I love that you said you open this up with how much you love what you do, because I say that myself. I love what I do. And in a lot of ways, I feel like that love, that passion that's driving you is necessary to be able to push you through the uncomfortableness of taking risks. But then, what do you get at the other end of it? You get to design your life the way you really want to live it and do things that you really enjoy doing and feel reward for. So I think when we're talking about risk, that ugliness of that feeling that you get is probably what comes top of mind. Um, and that's when people feel stuck in their business or their life, because making changes is so uncomfortable. So for those people that are feeling kind of stuck in, either in their head or circumstances, what's your suggestion for where to start?
Oh, yes. I mean, okay, so first, Edith, we just need to acknowledge that running your own business, well, first of all, is like the greatest personal development journey a person can be on, right? Because you are constantly confronted with risk
Hmm.
and constantly asked to step up and step into being more visible, promoting yourself, doing impactful work. It's it's not for the faint of heart.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, first of all, I just want to acknowledge anyone who owns their own business, you are already successfully grappling with the discomfort of risk simply by having hung up your shingle and opening your business, right? The thing about risk, though, I love words. I love like thinking about definitions. I love being curious about the assumptions we make about words. And risk is one of those, like, truly a four-letter word, but also a four-letter word. Like, it's something that we don't want to deal with. We want to avoid it, right? And often our position as business owners is how do we insulate ourselves from risk?
Hmm.
The reality, though, again, is like we have to take risks. We have to grapple with pushing ourselves and putting ourselves out there and trying something new. And so I've been curious about this notion of risk and what it really means. And might there be nuance there, right? That maybe not all risks are quote unquote bad. And so I've been thinking about, I actually have this, I went to business school, so I love a good two by two. So I've been thinking about, like, is there a way to plot risk according to different shapes and sizes and danger levels, if you will, right?
Hmm.
Like when we think about risk, we often think about those really big, dangerous things like I'm going to take my life savings and go to the casino,
Hmm.
right? Like, or I'm going to go skydiving without having learned how to use my parachute, right? Like, really big, like, that's the kind of risk. That's almost the palpable sense of the word risk that most of us carry around, like danger, not going to do it. But actually, there are different kinds of risks. There are small risks and there are actually helpful risks. The
Hmm.
kind of risks that help us really learn about where we are and what the opportunities ahead of us look like. So, um, a great example is, let's say, as a business owner, you are deciding that you're ready to open up a retail location, right?
Hmm.
Now, a big risk would be signing a 10-year lease without having, vetted that or figured out that you actually have customers,
Hmm.
right? That's a big risk. Let's not do that. But
Uh-huh.
the question becomes, what are the small and helpful risks that you can take that actually help you explore whether now is the time for a retail space, right?
Mm.
So maybe the risk looks like signing up to do a weekend pop-up,
Mhm.
right, at a local farmer's market. Maybe it's even smaller than that. Maybe it's saying, I actually am going to gather 10 friends and I'm going to put in front of them my favorite new product and I want to see what they think. I want to
Mhm.
ask them what would they pay for this? Do they see value in it? Is it something they'd share with their friends? Right? There are ways to reduce the risk, right? The scary part of the risk while still taking action. And as business owners, we need to take action.
Hmm. And I love how you broke it down. Like the risks can be at different levels because the way you feel about that risk could be a very similar feeling as, getting up and giving a presentation in front of 25 people versus, agreeing to this 10-year lease. Like the feeling that you have could be, very similar, but when you start to break it down into, okay, you know, what am I really risking here? What's the worst that can happen? Then, the worst that can happen in giving your presentation in front of 25 people versus the risk that can happen if you didn't do, all your financials and do your homework before you sign this 10-year lease. you know, this could really weigh that risk level. So I wonder if you can maybe elaborate more on that relationship that we should have with risk to feel more comfortable in dissecting it further.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not all risks are created equal, and yet we respond to the notion of risk the same, no matter what type it is, right? I think it's really powerful to even consider, just like you said, what is my relationship with the word risk, with the
Uh-huh.
concept of risk? Some people have an appetite for it, right?
Right.
And for them, this work may look like, how do I chunk it down into smaller pieces because my instinct is to go big, right?
Mhm.
Other people may say, ooh, risk, I want nothing to do with it. And so their work is to say, well, what is the smallest next step I can take, right?
Mm.
So, like I said, this is a personal development journey as much as a money-making endeavor as a business owner, right? And so evaluating your relationship with risk, where are you starting? I think
Mhm.
is so important. That reflection and introspection is so important. I'll say for myself, I I grew up and still am very much a high achiever. Have been coming to terms with my relationship with perfectionism for a really long time. And risk and perfectionism are a tight ball of yarn together.
Right.
And so for me, I didn't want to risk anything unless I knew I was going to get it right. I didn't want to raise my hand in class if I didn't think I was going to get the right answer. I didn't want to apply for a job if I didn't think I would get it. And so a lot of my experience as a business owner has been around really dancing with the risk of getting started and trying things out in the open and being willing to not get it right all the time. And
Mm.
that is hard. It is deeply uncomfortable, but it's also the way that we move forward, right? We can't grow, we can't evolve, and we certainly can't become better and more effective in our business if we don't start, if we don't try. And so for me, I've really come to think about risk as a friend.
Uh-huh.
It reminds me of if you've ever read Liz Gilbert's book, Big Magic, and she
Mhm.
talks about taking a road trip with creativity and fear. And
Right.
she knows that taking a road trip with creativity means that fear will always come. Fear is always invited, but fear doesn't get to sit in the front seat. It doesn't get to drive the car. It doesn't even get to choose what's on the radio station, right? And I feel that way about risk. Like risk is always going to be here with me. And so
Mm.
the question is, how do I want to engage with it? And what are the risks that really feel like they're purposeful and they
Mhm.
feel maybe even like digestible, right? Again, I'm not going to go, take my whole savings to the casino, but I might decide that I am comfortable or at least willing to try an investment in a new business coach or in a new piece of software or in a course, whatever it might be, right? So I would encourage everyone to consider what is your relationship with the word risk, with the concept of risk, and how might you turn towards it
Mhm.
and make friends with it.
Mm. I'm curious because as you're talking, I see so many similarities in myself as well. The high achiever, the one that was not gonna raise her hand without knowing that I am absolutely right, sitting in the front of the class just because I wanted to make sure I got everything. And so I totally get it. And then the relationship with perfection. And then I meet somebody like my co-host that couldn't be with us today, but Inez, and Inez is like my, complete opposite. She is like ready to do this. What do you mean we have to wait until we have all our branding situated? No, let's just do it. Let's just start. Let's get it, we'll figure it out along the way. And so honestly, for me, I love having someone like that. And as I shared with you before we started recording, I just got married.
Mhm.
And it must be one of those things where opposites attract because my new husband is also exactly that way. Like, okay, we have an idea and it's like, okay, how do we launch this? How do we, what's the next step? It's like, no, sitting down, pros and cons, and like I would do. So, and I share this with you because I'm wondering, is there a process for overcoming that paralysis that I'm feeling or do I have to find people to surround me that are just gonna keep
I
pushing me?
love that. I love that. It's probably a little bit of both, maybe. I don't know. But I have a process. I have a process.
Feeling overwhelmed by your to do list? Emails, scheduling meetings, managing customer inquiries, social media. The list never ends. But guess what? You don't have to do it all. Let a virtual assistant from Business Essentials Virtual Assistant help you say goodbye to the mundane task of running your business and reclaim your passion over essentials. From administrative tasks, customer support, social media, marketing, and more, we've got you covered. It's like having an extra pair of hands without the overhead. Ready to work smarter, not harder? Visit us today at businessessentialsva.biz. Again, businessessentialsva.biz and get the help you need today.
I think one thing before we even get to the process, I want to just name like a bias I have, a perspective I have on risk that actually I think is the through line in all of this for me. And that is that the purpose of taking risks is not immediate success. It's not big wins. It's learning. That's
Mhm.
the purpose of taking a risk is to learn. Because once we've learned, then we can make smarter choices, right? Then we know what the next step is. So that intention of learning, I think, is really the foundation of the process that I go through when I'm evaluating risks. So I
Mhm.
want to name that. Now, I think the question that I would encourage, I mean, maybe we could take you and Inez as an example, right? You each kind of balance each other out. There is one question I think that you could ask each other that might meet you in the middle, right? And so the question I often think about and ask myself is, what is the smallest, fastest, cheapest thing that I could do or try right now to learn the most?
Mm.
Right? What is the smallest, fastest, cheapest thing that I could do or try right now to learn the most? And when you think about it that way, you break the risk down into small, bite sized pieces that are, again, really rooted in the intention of learning. And so once you identify what that step is, the fastest, cheapest, smallest thing I could do, then you can plan it. Like, okay, what is that step? Again, I want to open up a retail space.
Mhm.
I'm going to invite 10 friends over and show them my favorite product that I want to feature in my space, right? You can plan that. I need to invite them. I need to get the product, maybe get some appetizers, right? Once you plan it, then you can do it, right? Okay, it's the evening happy hour. I'm going to invite everybody over. I show them the product. And once you do that, then you learn, what did they think, right? Did they like it? Were they excited about it? And
Mhm.
based on that, you can then ask that question again. What is the next smallest, cheapest, fastest thing I could do? Right?
Mhm.
I think of these like little loops of learning where
Mhm.
you are asking and answering that question. You are taking small action, and small doesn't mean not meaningful, right? It means intentional and incremental, and then you can iterate based on what you learn. So
Mm.
again, maybe you and Inez could, the next time you're dreaming up, like, where is this podcast going, for example, you can sit down and say, what is that small next step that satisfies Inez's desire to get moving, right?
Right.
And get going, but that also brings you along in an intentional and thoughtful way so that you're both learning about where you want to go.
Wow, that is such great, great advice. I took notes and I'm sure I'm going to go back and look through the transcript to get some more. Um, but the way you're breaking it down again here with this process, one thing that I also see is that by taking those steps, you are also giving yourself credit for what you have already accomplished. You were at the step of evaluating, should I even do this? And then you take that next step and now you're evaluating, okay, what's my feedback? You already got a step further from where you started and you were just analyzing, should I even start? Well, now I started and so I think that also that buildup of giving yourself credit just gives you that additional boost to keep it going, and
Absolutely.
not stay stagnant.
Absolutely. And the thing is, like, yes, I believe the purpose of taking risks is to learn, right? Again, not huge risks, but small incremental ones. But the thing that's so incredible that happens when you work this way is that you build confidence in your plan as you go. One of
Mm,
my favorite quotes about confidence is a woman, Debbie Millman, who's a designer and an author, and she says, confidence is the successful repetition of any endeavor. Right.
mm.
So the more you practice taking these small intentional risks, the more confident you feel over time, both in what you're doing, right, in the plan that you are realizing, but also in your capacity to do this work and in your capacity to manage risk and dance with it, right? So the more you do it, certainly the more confident you feel as well.
And I'm curious, how do you feel about risk? Personally. I mean, are you at a place now where you love risk? Are you one of those people?
Do I love risk? That's a good question. I have really come to appreciate risk as both like a signal of my growth edge, right? Sort of where I'm bumping up against. So that sort of breadcrumb of like, oh, there's something here. But then also, again, because I've been practicing taking small risks, I do love risk because it has helped me grow my confidence in myself. And ultimately, it's helped me grow my trust in myself, which I
Hmm.
think is really a huge part of owning a business, is learning to trust yourself. And so I can say, again, I've been running my own business for over 8 years now. And I'm probably like, still in the baby stage of looking at risk very differently than I did, like, say, the first 7 years of my business. But there's the thing that I notice now is that I really do trust myself to try things. I really do trust myself to say, I think I have a hypothesis and I'm gonna, plan out the steps and I'm gonna make them lightweight and I'm gonna make them in service of my learning. We're gonna see what happens and then I'll make my next decision.
Mm.
So Risk and I we're dating, like I don't know that we've fallen in love just yet. It's maybe a lifelong goal, but we are
Yeah.
definitely we're going steady.
Okay. And you're close.
We're close. We're close.
You're close. Okay. I love that answer. I really do, Ashley. Oh my gosh, this has been such a great conversation. I feel like we could probably chat for another 30 minutes to an hour about this. But, paying attention to our time, to the show, we do like to keep it to 30 minutes. Would you please just share with our audience what you would say are your three main takeaways from our discussion today?
Mm. Okay, let's see. So the first, I would again just encourage everyone, this can be in a journal, this can be a voice note to yourself when you're taking a walk or conversation with a trusted, business bestie. But what is your relationship with risk?
Mm,
What does the word mean to you? How does it feel in your body? Where did those messages and that understanding come from? Right? And what would it look like to befriend risk? That's a hard word to say, but become friends with risk, right? What would it look to go on a date with risk? I think that's the first takeaway is just the power of reflection, as you are growing your business. The second thing, again, I would say is what is the smallest, fastest, cheapest thing? We are not, it's not good for our bank account. It's not good for our nervous system. It's not good for our just general life sustainability to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? To take this huge, dangerous trust fall risk, right? So chunk it down and make a choice about chunking it down based on what do you want to learn, right? So
mm,
that would be the second thing. And then I think maybe the third thing I would just say is this is a lifelong process, right? Just like when you get married, your intention is for it to be a lifetime partnership, right? The relationship you have with risk is a lifelong journey. So
mm.
just trust that it's going to take some time, it's going to take some getting used to. And the deeper you go, I think, in this relationship, the more payoffs and the more impact you're able to create in the world, which is certainly one of the drivers for me in my own business.
Oh my gosh, Ashley, those were so on point. Those would have been the same takeaways I actually took away myself.
Well, good, good. We're on the same page.
Absolutely. So Ashley, before we come to a close, would you tell our audience how they can connect with you and Wayfinders Collective?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm very active on LinkedIn and on Instagram. So I would welcome anyone who'd like to connect there. I would love to meet you. And then there are a couple of resources I might offer, if I may. I run through Wayfinders Collective, I run a monthly salon series. I call it the Innovative Leadership Salon. And every month we tackle different topics and questions related to what it looks like to innovate as leaders of teams, as business owners, and as people in our lives. Um, Pretty soon, we're going to be talking about change. That's our first topic. In a couple months, we're actually going to be talking about risk. So, if anyone wants to continue this conversation, I would welcome you to join. It's totally free. And you can learn more about it at wayfinderscollective.com/salon. So people are welcome to join there. And then certainly join my newsletter. I would love to have you part of the conversation. And it's a great way to learn about different tools and resources for designing your business and designing your life.
Well, audience, you heard that. You got to visit the salon. and join the newsletter. I know, newsletters I think sometimes are a little underrated, but I think they are still so valuable and have great information. I know I send one out every week. And when you're coaching, it's like comes naturally to want to share information. So yeah, sign up to that newsletter, especially if you're considering getting better at your risk taking.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
for our audience, we will be adding links to how to reach Ashley in our show notes. So those links will be there available to you. And Ashley, oh my gosh, this has been so fun. So fun
Such
to
a
have you
treat.
here with our audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Edith. It's been really, really fun. And maybe there will be a part two sometime with Inez as well.
Oh, I would love that. And I've already taken some notes on a part two. So
Oh,
they're
great. Oh, great. Well, thank you again. This has been so fun.
If you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode, and for that, we want to thank you. Let us know what you think about today's topic by leaving us a comment and a review of our podcast.
And if you found some value on the information shared in this podcast, please subscribe and share. And you can find us on our Facebook page, Unstuck Your Business, and join the conversation and engage with other entrepreneurs as together we help each other unstuck our business. Until next time.
Until next time.